In the meantime, if others of you have questions, please, pour away. Another question, can you post a list of groups online so more people can find us? You mean like real love groups? I think there's already something like that happening. I was pretty sure there was. You're going to have to ask Mike about that. Whether, at one point we talked about posting available real love groups online. And you're going to have to talk to Mike about the feasibility of anything online. That's just out of my jurisdiction. Because there are groups all over the place that we didn't even know existed. So talk to Mike. I'm going to deal with Lisa's question unless Lisa stops me. So you're going to have to stop me if I can't use this thing. I'll change the names, but you're going to have to tell me not to use it. So Lisa said, I need some help with how to respond to this woman's email. She's been coming to my group for a couple of months now. She heard about it at the church. She hasn't read any of your books, which is always a little difficult. After somebody's been coming to group for a couple of months, what eventually I say to somebody is, the subject of the group is real love. And when you keep coming to the group and you haven't studied real love, it makes it pretty difficult for you. So each answer that we give to you, we're going to answer in terms of real love. So if that's puzzling to you, well, then little wonder that it would be. If you want to make things clearer, then it would be much easier if you simply read the real love book. It's kind of puzzling that people would come to a real love group and not read the book. Kind of tells you a lot about their commitment, doesn't it? You said, I've already explained to her. In fact, that's the first thing I'd say to her is, look, if you want to really solve your problem, the first thing I'd do is watch the DVDs. And otherwise, and I tell people this right off, when people call me and they have a question, one of the first things I say is, have you read a book or have you watched the DVDs? And if they say no, I say, okay, do that, call me back. And they say, well, but I have a question. And I say, and I don't have the time to answer your question if you have made no preparation. Did you get what I just said? I mean that. And it's not because I've written the book. Do you get it? There's only so much time in life. When somebody comes and says to you, well, I want an answer, it would be exactly like this. Somebody comes to you and they say, I have a question about trigonometry. And you say, well, have you done any work with algebra? No. Well, you can't answer their question. They have to have studied algebra in order for an answer in trigonometry to make any sense. You have to do one before the other. So when somebody calls me and they say, give me the answer to this problem in my life, and I say, well, I can't explain this to you until you understand more about real love. Oh, well, just give me a quick synopsis. My answer is, no, I won't. Why? Because I don't have time. If you don't have time, I don't have time. Do you get the point? If somebody doesn't have time, the time to invest a few hours to learn about the principles that will change their life, I don't have a few minutes. Do you see? What they're telling you is, I don't really care that much about solving the problem. And I'm going, then neither do I. Because if they don't care about their problem, why would I care about it? Because it's not important to them. See the point? It's not because I don't care about them, it's because they don't care about the problem. If it's unimportant to them, it's unimportant to me too. I got it. I got the point. And so the first thing I would tell this, Lisa, and you've got to indicate to me here in writing that you're getting some of this, is that if this lady doesn't have the time to stop and pay attention and learn a set of principles that are going to change her life, then I would tell her, I can't help you. That's the first thing I'd tell her. If you can't stop and shut up and quit complaining and learn something different, then you know what? What you're saying is, I want to keep being miserable. Really, that's what she's telling you. She wants to keep spinning her wheels and doing the same old stuff. And what I tell people is, okay, I'm going to let you. I'm not going to get in your way. Why would I spend my time stopping you if you're not interested in stopping? We spend way too much time trying to stop people from doing what they want to do. I'm going to keep reading here. It says, she claims to be practicing the law of attraction for years. Now pay attention to this, Lisa. She is. She is practicing the law of attraction. She practices, she's insane. She practices the law of just helter-skelter attraction. She does just whatever she feels like in any given moment. She has no guiding principles in her life. She practices chaos. Then, when chaotic things happen in her life, she has attracted them to her. Then she goes, well, what happened? Well, how could she possibly be surprised? Do you see? She has a completely chaotic life. She attracts chaos, and then she's surprised. Nope. She is reaping the law of attraction. She lives it perfectly. She thinks she's living it at a higher plane, though. She's living it at the absolute bottom of the barrel. That's the problem. She thinks she's practicing it intentionally, and she's not. So most people do live the law of attraction, but what they do is they attract into their lives garbage because they put out garbage and they get garbage. That's how most people live the law of attraction. So it's important that people understand what the law of attraction looks like. We think that the law of attraction is really the law of getting stuff. And the law of attraction is really about you get what you are. Did I just get through to anybody? The law of attraction is so poorly misunderstood. The book, The Secret, caused, on the whole, probably more harm than good because it was so poorly understood. You get what you are. So if you live chaos and garbage in your life and irresponsibility and laziness and anger, what do you think you're going to get? You're going to get what you sow. And yet people believe that if they sit and go, I'm going to attract into my life beautiful things, they think that is the law of attraction. No, that's called foolish, vain, silly wishing. That's all it is. It's not the law of attraction at all. So Lisa went on to describe this lady who went over to India and just in a short period of time while she was there met a man and married him. And then came over here and hoped that he would follow her here. Then he didn't come, and it turned out that they had a very contentious marriage in a very short period of time, and now it says that she feels like she's been deceived. No, she wasn't deceived at all. He was exactly what he portrayed himself to be, but she wasn't paying attention to what he was. Because we don't know what real love is, we are so thoroughly deceived by imitation love everywhere we go. He didn't deceive her. She was willingly deceived by imitation love, not by him. She's willingly deceived by imitation love everywhere she goes. For example, it says here that she works 2 jobs in excess of 100 hours a week. So who deceives her there? The job? No, she does. She hopes that working 100 hours a week and working 2 jobs is going to fill her life with what? Praise, power, other forms of imitation love, money, whatever. She did the same thing with him. She found a man who temporarily made her feel better and went, wow, this is love. she came over here and said, okay, now I want you to continue to make me feel better, and became increasingly demanding and nagging and whining. And this man in India, wisely, by the way, said, you know, I'm not really sure I want to move clear across the planet and live with a nagging, whining shrew. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm saying what he did was right, but he went, whoa, this isn't as great as I thought it was going to be. He's decided he doesn't want to move over to this country. Smart move, probably. He's figured out that the trait of imitation love ain't so great. So little wonder that he wouldn't want to move here. And she's feeling deceived. Well, it was a deception of imitation love. It wasn't an intentional deception on his part. And then she went to a therapist, and she's complaining about how, she's victimized. When one person is initiating the communication, almost 100%, this is a red flag. And I saw a therapist, and she was alarmed about my situation. My marriage is in trouble. In order for a marriage to be healthy, two people are required to communicate. Honey, two people ain't required to nothing. The only person required to ever do anything in my life is me. And the only person who can require me to do anything is me. So that's the end of that. I don't get to require anybody to anything. And as soon as I do, I'm dead. So I want you to get this picture. This lady goes to India. She marries this man. She comes over to America and goes, well, where are you? How come you're not communicating more? How come you didn't respond to my last email? Because that's what she's saying here. And how come you don't return my phone calls? And how come you didn't? And how come? She's saying that just in one email that I'm writing. Imagine how she talks to him. How come you don't this? And how come you don't this? Now, do you think that man is finding this A, attractive, B, not attractive? This is not a hard choice. Do you get it? Because what she's saying is, you made me feel good for a moment, and now I demand that you keep it up. Pretty much nobody likes this. So he's going to run, naturally. And the more he runs, the more demanding she becomes. And then the more he runs. Anybody ever seen this picture in their lives before? So, Lisa, rather than get into terms like that you're using here with, he's a mirror to you, and put it all in real love terms. As soon as you start getting into psychobabble, you're on the field of death with this lady. You're going to lose. Talk to her in terms of real love, and if she won't read real love, let her go. If she wants to play field of death and get a therapist and play these games, let her play the games. Apparently she wants to play them. So far, it's looking like that's what she wants to do. So I would teach her real love, and if she's willing to listen, hallelujah. And if she's not, this is apparently something that she likes to do, and let her go. Hard stuff. John, you were just asking if this is live. Well, yeah. It's not saying it's good, but it's live. Actually, it must not be good, because Jonathan's saying, is this making sense to people? That's the first time somebody has said in the middle of my speaking, is this making any sense to anybody? Melissa said, tell me what the experience of being loved unconditionally in a marriage looks like. The day-to-day stuff is just relaxed. It's an absence of tension. It's an absence of... The easiest thing to say is, it's peaceful. There was a man who came to visit us and stayed in our home for, I guess 6 months. And if I had to describe it best, it would be in the eyes of other people. And he came to me one day and he said, I've been watching you two, Donna and I, closely, living in your home, eating meals with you, passing through at unexpected times, watching you when you didn't know that I was watching you for, 6 or 7 months now. And he said, I have never seen you frown. I've never seen you raise your voice. I've never seen you speak unkindly. I've never seen you become irritated, annoyed, impatient. Nothing. He said, I've never seen anything like this in my life. In my entire 40-something years. I've never seen a relationship like this. I've never had anything to compare it to. So, I guess what I'm suggesting to you is, it's wonderful, but it's not dramatic. Does that make sense to you? It's an absence of getting and protecting. It's an absence of contention. It's an absence of, I want from you. It's an absence of demanding. It's just an easy acceptance. And it can also be pretty spectacular. It can also be pretty fun and tender and loving. I'm not suggesting it's just nothingness. It's not just an absence of things. I mean, 2 logs lying next to each other in the forest floor also have an absence of getting and protecting behaviors. So it's more than just not things. But it's a peacefulness. And that's pretty great. So if you have more questions, let me know. I want to warn you that John is typing, and that usually means a question, So Lisa, looked like you were kind of popping in and out with getting kicked off. Did you get the answer to your question mostly, do you think? So the Pleasanton group says, a 9-year-old boy who plays with my son was told by another neighbor that, this is getting complicated, let's see. So here's my son, and here's a 9-year-old boy, and was told by another neighbor, that's me, that his friends don't like him. Wow, this is complicated. So he asked my son, do you like me? Okay. And my 11-year-old son mentally compared him to his other friends and said, kind of. Okay. I was upset because the other child took it as a no and felt hurt. Some say my son was just being honest, yet I would like to teach him to be more kind with his response. Your suggestions. Okay. All right. In the first place, it's real important to teach your son that he did not screw up. Real important. So, being truthful is more important than anything else. You learn to be loving later. No kidding. Truthful first. So, your son said, kind of, great. You tell your son, way to go for being honest. Then you say, now, when you said to your friend, kind of, how could your friend have taken that? So, for example, if you said to me, now I'm being you, the mom, that may be hard for you, but grow the hair a little bit, whatever it takes for you. If you said to me, Mom, do you like me? And I said, kind of. How would that affect you? Well, he'd know, wouldn't he? I mean, you'd take that as you'd take it as not really, or certainly not wholeheartedly, right? So, practice with me here. Do you like him some? Yeah. All right. So let's work out a way that you can tell him honestly how you like him. Because, see, we don't ever tell our kids how to have relationships. So we go, well, that wasn't a very good way to tell him. Well, then, dang it, tell him how to do it different. We don't teach our kids how to do relationships at all. So let's talk about some ways you could do it. You could say, you know, I really enjoy the time I spend with you. Cool. Now, see, that's a really positive thing to say. I really enjoy the time that we play in the sandbox. Well, he's 11. Play marble. What? I don't know. You give me some things you enjoy doing with this kid. I really like it when we do this, and I really like it when we do this. In fact, the times that we do, I don't know, weave baskets I enjoy weaving baskets with you more than with any other person I know. Maybe that would be a cool thing he'd enjoy hearing. I've spent more time with you in the last 2 weeks than I have with almost any of my other friends. Think of 5 cool things you could say to this guy that are true. Because the point is, what can you say that's true and loving? That's what you want to help your son say. See? You don't want to squelch the truth part. What we want to help our children say is what is true and loving. See how cool? Whereas what we do is when our children say something that is true and unkind, we go, ooh, I don't think I would have said that. Well, shut up. If you don't have something better to say, then shut your mouth. I mean, the idea is to teach them, not just to go, ooh, bad when they make mistakes. That's no help. So help the kid, actually take him through a dialogue. And your kid will love this. I mean, which of us ever had our parents sit down with us and take us through a practice dialogue in a relationship? You? Not me. The thought would be mind-boggling. So help your kid. That'd be just a hoot. Make sense? Apparently some people are not getting the streaming video. That is a problem. Freezing and going in and out of focus. So, Jonathan, you'll make notes about that? Yep. And then Michael, keep working on that. Freezing, ooh, that's awful. That's terrible. All right, John, I'm having an issue with real love. It's becoming, hang on a second. It's becoming a lonely world out there for me. When I no longer use bait, hang on, there's something I can hit and then it won't keep doing that thing. When I no longer use bait to get people to do things with me, they don't call back, email back, etc. So my circle of active friends is dwindling fast. I keep calling them, but I get no real responses. The other day I went to a party, and instead of not getting involved as usual, I let go of my attacking sarcasm and humor. My friends all said, there is the John we're looking for and miss. Very different on the field of death versus the field of life. Yes, I did have some fun when everybody was laughing with me and at me. All the other times, I would tell them that I do not go there anymore. I do not attack or use sarcasm. So, it's kind of like this, John. Let's say you've spent your entire life as a dog, and all your friends are dogs. And then one day, through some peculiar magic, you turn into, for example, a swan. And you discover that now, my gosh, you can fly, you can soar through the air, you can swim on the water. You can do all kinds of cool things you could never do as a dog. If you turn into a swan, do you think there's any possibility that your friends might become different? Duh. There's no way a swan's going to have the same friends he used to have as a dog. The old dogs can't associate with a swan in the swan's environment. Dogs don't fly. Dogs don't swim on the lake. The old friends just tend to disappear. Why? Because you've become a different person. Now, the point is, you have too. And you've become a better person. And that doesn't mean better than. That's never the deal. It's not like, oh, I've become better than my friends. I've transcended to a higher plane. No, it's not the deal. You've become a happier person. You don't have to use sarcasm. You don't have to bait people. You don't have to. Now, for a period of time, will you be lonelier? Yes. And the biggest reason is you don't know what to do with your new skills. You don't know how to find new friends. You don't know how to gather them to you. You're inexperienced. If you suddenly went from dog to swan, for example, do you think you'd suddenly know how to fly well? No. Or swim well? No. It would take you a while before you knew how to become a good swan and attract new swan friends. Same deal you're going through now. So, hang on a second. I'm going to make use of this at some point, all because of you. And that's what you're going through. I went through the same thing. All my old friends that I used to have when all I knew how to do was attract people to me with getting and protecting behaviors, they're gone. And understandably so. I only knew how to attract people to me with imitation love, with getting and protecting behaviors. And once I quit using those, poof. In fact, tell you a story. There was a friend I had, 20-something years ago. And this man was particularly adept at trading in imitation love. Very skilled, very bright, really sarcastic, really sharp wit, and we would sit and trade stories and, jokes and comments about other people. And, I mean, we could entertain not just each other, but an entire room endlessly, far into the night. I mean, people would just gather around, and we just kept an entire room enthralled. And we would get together and do this just, on and off for years. And then my life began to change. He didn't like that. He was quite annoyed by it. And essentially at one point told me to go to hell and that I had betrayed him. Now, mind you, all I had done was change my life. I didn't do a thing to him. Recently, I guess, I don't know, a few months ago, 6 months, something, he contacted me out of the blue and said, gee, I'd really like to rekindle our relationship. And I'm thinking, okay. And he started talking some of the kind of like real love talk, I guess. He kind of said, my life has come really around, and really it's come right to where your life is. And I thought, okay, no judgment about it. I have no need to change anybody to be like me. And as he talked a lot about the secret. He talked about the law of attraction. But he's one of those many people who understands the law of attraction none. And so he started talking about how we would do things together and business ventures together and this and that together. And so, we would make little plans, and no matter what we planned, he never followed through. And so at one point, I just let him know that a particular plan that we were going to do, I wasn't interested in doing. And no accusation of him. I just said I wasn't interested in pursuing a particular thing. And he became furious, just enraged. He had wanted me to come out to where he lived, which was a long way away, and spend, a couple weeks together, just, laughing and playing like the old days. Well, I'm not interested in the old exchange of imitation love anymore. And he started calling me names and cursing and screaming over the phone. And this is what happens when you get off the field of death and you're no longer willing to trade in imitation love with people. Because, see, people who trade in imitation love, they don't trade in imitation love casually. They trade in imitation love desperately. And you can tell easily the difference in the field of death and the field of life. The people on the field of life or on the field of death are all desperate. I'm desperate to death. And if you leave, you, in their view, are taking a life source from them. You're threatening their lives, even though all you're doing is taking yourself. You're not doing a thing to them. He was furious. He was beside himself. He called the house. I finally just said, I don't know what I've done, but it's beyond my understanding, and so you're going to have to work this out on your own. And goodbye. He called back, called the secretary, called everybody that he knew, that I knew, and told him what a terrible person I was. When people on the field of death are disappointed, they're furious. You're going to discover that in your life. When you leave the field of death, people will not be happy about it. So you're just touching the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get worse. And the solution is not to go back to the field of death where everybody still dies, no matter how many times you go back there. The solution is to get better at finding the field of life, staying there, and finding what the field of life has to offer. The magic there is unmistakable, unmatchable. So John is asking, so what do you do with your old friends? I spend very little time trying to teach dogs to be swans. You don't do that. It's pretty much a waste of time. Why try to convert a dog? So what I do is, I just try to love everybody that I know. And just see what happens. And spend as much time as you can in the company of swans. And the more you do that, this is what the law of attraction is. Pay attention. The more time you spend in the company of swans, the more that people who are interested in becoming swans tend to be attracted to their company. Make sense? Whereas dogs tend to stay by themselves. Dogs tend to be attracted to dogs, and so on. Mind you, when I say dogs and swans, I am not demeaning dogs. Please get that straight. I'm not saying dogs are less than, just different than. And in time, it is my personal belief that everybody's going to want to be swans. I just believe that. It's just a matter of timing. So I don't have any condescension toward anybody being where they are. When I look at somebody who's being stupid and ignorant and on the field of death, I don't look at them and go, oh, you fool. No, just in time. I mean, I've spent the vast majority of my life on the field of death. I certainly couldn't claim to be wise. It's taken me almost my whole life to wake up. And that's only wake up a little. I'm still waking up. So there's no condescension to this. Melissa says, what is the origin of the term field of death? Purely inspiration. It's really just a matter of, one day I was contemplating the idea of everything that is good, everything that we do that leads to truth and love leads to life. Everything that we do that detracts from feeling loved and happy leads away from life, or in other words, leads to death. And if you picture our lives as being lived on, if you want to picture it as a game, a field, I just created a metaphor. So, I said if you want to picture our whole lives as being played on a field, and so rather than name a particular field, a soccer field, a baseball field, why name the sport? We play our whole lives on a field. And we can choose either to play on the field of life, or we can choose to play on the field of death. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what sport we play, it matters what the end result is. It matters whether it's the field of life or it's the field of death. So the origin was just inspiration. It wasn't really mine. But it's about the end result. Does that answer your question? Melissa says, Lorelei, are you praising me? Sure, why not? Oh, sorry, you're right. Pleasanton, I skipped your question. It was just, I don't know, ADD. You said, I love your description of marriage. After 3 years of attempting to practice real love, I'm still trying to figure out how to get to that place of peaceful acceptance with my spouse. I go to our weekly meetings, make phone calls every day to get filled up, yet still find it hard to let go of control and judgment, even when I know I'm wrong to judge, and even when I have such great intentions to be loving. Any other suggestions? I would make this one. I'm just as boneheaded as anybody. People look at me because I write the books and stuff and go, oh, wow, he really must have it. No, I'm just as stupid as anybody. And although Dawn is a saint, she makes her own mistakes. The key is not finding somebody who's perfect. Good freaking luck. The key is looking at your partner and saying this. Generically, we can say in our heads that when people make mistakes, they make them only because they are not sufficiently loved, and because they're empty and afraid, and because they're drowning. Generically, we say, if people were perfectly loved, they wouldn't be making these mistakes, right? I mean, if somebody were perfectly loved, why would they ever lie? Why would they ever attack? Why would they ever be sarcastic? Why would they ever be snide? Why would they ever be a smart aleck? Why would they ever be selfish? They wouldn't be. Somebody who is perfectly loved simply would have no need to do those things. Now, we can say that generically, we can say that in the abstract. When your marriage will finally change is when you can look at your partner and say, and you know what? It applies to my partner too. Really. This time. It applies to my partner every time. And if my partner is behaving badly toward me now, it has nothing to do with me. And it's not because my partner is intentionally trying to bother me. Even though, right now, he or she is inconveniencing the holy hell out of me. And I want to slap her face off. See? When I really look at her and go, oh, she's really just drowning. Really. Really. How could you ever be mad at a drowning person? And yet, I still forget sometimes, which is horribly stupid. But I sure forget a lot less than I used to. So I'm going to suggest to you that it can really be that simple. Is there a difference between making an agreement and making a promise? No. Not a bit. If you can think of a difference, let me know. And you know, it's real common for people to say, well, I didn't really make a promise. What? Did you say you'd do it? Yes. Then you made a promise. Well, but I didn't use the word promise. What, are you like some sort of like stupid or what? What planet did you come from? If you said you'd do it, you made a promise. There, you did. It's that simple. The only reason that people, you know, quibble over promises and agreements and I said this is if you're trying to get out of it. And because you're a, you know, a yellow-backed weasel. So, no, it's, you know, if you said you'd do it, you made a promise. So, if you get a chance, go to the website and learn about the business conference coming up September 1st. It's going to be a fascinating introduction to a new subject that is about to explode onto the corporate world. Read Real Love in the Workplace. John says, let you know that my neighbor and I have been watching your DVDs, and her favorite DVD has been the one on one interaction with people. That seemed to teach well for some reason. Everybody's different. It makes you crazy. You can never tell, which is why we did a 6 DVD set. Some people say, oh, loved that first one, hated the rest of them, loved the first one. Loved number 4. Okay, who knows? Love the one where you sit and talk to people. Whereas other people, everybody learns different. I've finally caught on. Everybody's different. And we all learn different. Some people love the drama. Some people love the lecture. Some people love the one-on-one teaching, which is why we try to do a little bit of everything. Which is why when we do the business teaching, for example, we're going to do the seminars, we're going to do the coaching, we're going to do the online classes, we're going to do didactics, we're going to do interactives, we're going to do where people answer essay questions and they're graded, where you interact with a coach online, you know, 100 different ways, because everybody learns different. So it is. So, if you have a question in the next 15 seconds, we will continue. Otherwise, it will be a lovely week, and I will see you next Tuesday. So I love this time I get to spend with you guys. And next Tuesday, please, in the meantime, those of you who send your questions ahead of time, oh, you would make my life so easy. And please email them to me, greg@reallove.com, and we'll be prepared to answer your questions first. And Thursdays are still on. There's still a coach here every Thursday doing the classes. And we will be loving you until next Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. See you then.